It is our Wednesday night call. We are talking about sex, and this is a video that we're making to complement the TSL podcast number 147. If you go to thesexuallife.com/147, you can watch the video, listen to the podcast, read the article, because there's so much to break down about it. But there's so much to break down about it. There's these little parts that I want to focus in on. And so we were just talking about it, and what it turned into was kind of some of the dangers of having good sex. So when you're really good at pleasing a woman, which is the title, well, it's the universal guide to having good sex is the title of the podcast 147. But if you're really good at that, there's some downsides to it. And, we talk about a lot of stuff here, 6 points of escalation, the golden dick, the kung fu penis, all these different things, because for 10 years or more, we've been talking heavily about sex. Now, what I was getting into is where I literally learned the most about sex and what to do with it all comes from myself having like an exaggerated sexual life. I wish I had somebody to talk to about sex that told me the truth about it, because there are a lot of people that gave me advice about it. And there were a lot of people that gave me warnings about it. There were a ton of people who made jokes about it and all that sort of stuff, which are all good things. But there was nobody there that said like, hey man, look, I fucked a lot of chicks. And they actually told me something that I might be interested in. And they were like, here are some things that happened. And so that's really what I want to do. That's really the whole point of the TSL podcast, is everything you need to know about sex, including relationships. So one of these things that happens is that if we do give really good sex, and we all should be, if you're having bad sex and you're not confident about your sex life, listen to our podcast, join our free groups. If you can't cough up $5 a month or $10 a month or even $50 a month, then, I don't know what to tell you, but we have a lot of stuff that you can access, even at that low level, that is going to help you out. And we have free groups too, right? And we talk a lot about it. If you are unconfident about your sex, if you're going through dysfunction, you don't know how to deal with it, totally fucking help your ass out. That's what we do. But we were talking about these processes of sex. Now, first off, of course, you don't need to fuck like a porn star. You don't need to have a big dick. It's not about how she comes. Of course, that's good. And you want that. You want to please women. But it's more about how she makes you come. That's going to make it work. And that's all in the article, and probably in the free downloadable PDFs that we included with that. You should definitely check it out. But what we got to is what happens when sex is too good. All right, what happens when you deliver too good of a dick, make her feel too good? And that's the other thing, is that there's plenty of sexually active women. There's plenty of guys who are really good with women, but nobody's fucking good. Man, that was my angle. It's like I know so many women that were like, I have so many options with men. As long as I could have sex with them, I knew I would win it, because it was too easy. Nobody's going out there and doing simple things, very simple things that you can do. And again, you don't need to fuck like a porn star. You don't need to have a big dick. You don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need to have status. You don't need to have any of that shit in order to make it work, right? So I knew it could work. Now, here's the shitty thing. When you deliver really, really good sex or an intense sexual experience and you don't know how to handle the after part. Okay, so that's actually a big component of the TSL podcast 147, sexuallife.com/147 if you want to see it. It's a big component of it. How do we handle it afterwards? And where the example that I bring up in it is having some extreme sexual adventures that I had in my life. Because like I said, I was a very sexual person, still am, but didn't have anybody guiding me, didn't know what was the right and wrong thing to do. So where I actually learned this from, where I actually learned how you treat somebody after sex, is setting up and being a part of a culture where we would gangbang women, where we would have sex with not just 2 or 3 guys, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. I never got into anything really more than that, but there are, groups that do that. But where I learned, how men and women think about sex afterwards was from that. And a lot of people get shocked by it, but man, it's the truth. And I could tell you how it is and what happens. But sex is such a crazy thing that we never talk about in our culture. And yet it's such a private moment. No matter what culture you're in, if you're in a culture where you're tribal and naked on the beach, it's still going to be private. Masturbation is still going to be private. We never take that into account when we're talking about all the addiction stuff and the disorders. But sex is such a richly private thing that we do. It's personal. It's an expression of us. And when we have it and have this intense experience, it affects us in a deep way, right? So it's going to have impact. It will have to have impact on us. And the interesting thing, especially that I got from doing all these, crazy sexual exploits, is these girls and these guys were going through a new experience that they had never experienced in their life a lot of the times. It was so intense. So there were times where there would be, it's a gangbang. There's a ton of shit, right? There's a ton of stuff going on. And these girls would be, performing and stretched out in all these different ways, and they would be loving it. And then there would be things that they didn't like, right? But they're in the mode. It's amazing to see. And what you would see is there would be girls that would walk out of that experience and they felt really good afterwards or felt a part of something. And then a day goes by and they feel really bad about something. Then all of a sudden it's like, man, I felt degraded in this moment. I felt, used in this moment. And I felt that I wasn't being respected. I wasn't being respected. I didn't have a choice in this moment. And this person just took out their anger and pain on me or whatever. They liked that it was, that's not me. That's not me. I don't like that. I remember one time I was talking to a girl who was in a sex addict thing. And she was telling me, she was like, the only way, Steve, that I thought I could go out and find love was to get a bunch of dudes to come on my face. I just remember looking at her going like, man, what's wrong with that? If you like that, like, what's wrong with that? And the reason why I was saying that wasn't to belittle her, was actually to get to the point of it, because there's a part of her sexuality that said, I like that. I want that to happen. And then when it was happening, she may have liked it. And then there's this other part that's a social filter and your true expression saying, man, I don't like that. And so it's this weird thing where there's all this intense stuff happening. There's things that we've never felt before that we really like, that we don't like, and they're too close together. And it's so easy to misinterpret them when we walk out of the room, or we're done watching porn, or we're done, having sex that didn't go well, or we try and have sex with somebody, we couldn't get it up, or we premature ejaculate. And we have that natural private feeling, and all the endorphins in our brain and chemicals that happen because it's this massive orchestration drop out, and we enter the void. And the void is where that shame can creep in. Now, I honestly think that things like sex or intense experiences in our life, and especially when they fail, we hit doubt, we hit pain, we hit stuff that we don't like. We get a bad feeling. We could have a little bit of shame, right? But in order to maintain shame, that takes some work. And unfortunately, with our society, we get all into that. I've given tons of speeches on this. The 21 Convention speech about addiction is really like one you should watch. I don't know if it's released yet or whatever, but hopefully it gets released soon, because it's a good breakdown of all that sort of stuff and the biology of it and so on. But the thing is what we got to realize as men is, how do we be responsible for this? So I'm going to break down the first scenario that is written in the article, and then I want to break down another scenario for when you're giving too good a sex. Okay. So the first scenario is that we go through this intense experience. Man, we leave it all there. And like I said, I learned this from these crazy orgy, gangbang, whatever things, is it's so easy to walk away from there being fucked up. So when I would bring a girl, and this was usually the rule, if you introduced a girl to it, it was your responsibility to decompress her, to have her feel good and make those things happen. Now, I'm going to describe this because it's applicable even if you just meet a girl. There's got to be a decompression from sexuality. You have to be there to walk her down from that amazing experience that she has from you, or else, it's all over. Now, the interesting thing of this is, I'll tell you that the end story of it, every single one of these girls, man, every single girl that I brought into this that either walked away from it all right, ended up getting into prostitution, ended up stripping, ended up getting on drugs or doing something where she got a little lost, ended up getting married. Whenever anything gets to a point in their life where it's too much, hands down, man, I'm like the first person they call. Steve, it's been 10 years. hey, I got to talk to you. I went through this thing. I was pregnant and we lost the baby and we're going through a divorce and you're the only person I can trust. It's insane. So that in a way, if you carry the torch of this responsibility, you might be carrying it for a long time. All right. But nonetheless, what I want to say, and my main point in that is that it's powerful. It's extremely powerful. When we would have sex in these ways, nobody knows what to do. The guys clean themselves off. The girls clean up. They're kind of awkward. Everybody's like making jokes. They're very comfortable and awkward at the same time because they've never experienced something like this. And it was fun. There were parts that they didn't like. There were parts that they did like, but overall it was a cool thing. And, we all shower. We don't know what to do. And you walk out of that. Nobody says anything. Like I said, that so easily starts to maneuver into this story in her head, right? And that's the biggest story that I think you should worry about. This story in her head, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. What would my friends think? Like, I'm not like that. Nobody's ever going to love me. If I'm with a guy again, like, he's not going to love me because I did this and liked it. What kind of a person am I? And all this sort of stuff. So one thing that was very important to me is that after I had sex or after I was in those sexual experiences, I had to show that woman that she was still beautiful. What happened was an expression of her that I liked and everybody else liked. And it was beautiful. It was amazing to go there. That I respect her and that she has a voice and a choice. All right. And that's super important. You have to let people have choices. You have to. If they do not have choices, they feel forced and they rebel against things, and especially with sex. Okay. So how a conversation like that goes is maybe a day down the road or, whatever. You just say, man, like, look, I know I said it, we were done, but that was really amazing. Man, that was an awesome thing. Like I loved seeing you in that way. It's fucking amazing, man. And I know that a lot of times, like, you get into this moment where you think you're lost from people or whatever, but like, people can't relate, but in a way that we all understand, it's like a respectable thing. But I also want you to know that if you didn't like something, like, speak up for it, make some rules, make some boundaries. You can't predict walking into that situation, what it'll be like and what you'll experience. And that's part of the fun of it. But like, you have a choice, so if there's things that you didn't like or you want to step away from it, do it, but don't make it a reaction. Make sure it's from you. And so these are things that were very important. Now, even though I'm saying this, because you can say one thing, but actions are what matters. If you see that she's still a little bit confused, you have to be able to bring her out of that. Actions are the key, right? And so what would happen is if a girl actually follows that path, because she has to follow that path, right? If she starts to feel shitty about herself or whatever, if she starts to feel bad about that situation, you have to be like, no, then we got to stop. Like, we got to chill out. And you have to get back to the place where there were good things to it. And you can go out in society. You can have a boyfriend. He may not understand, but fuck, man. Like, to ever think that you're unworthy of that is ridiculous, right? And so you have to walk them through it. And my objective in this was never to like control anybody or force them to be around me in whatever ways. It was really, really to like walk them down to it. Again, when you think about this, it comes down to, I respect you. What we did was beautiful. That action was beautiful. It was your expression. It was you. It wasn't a bad side of you. It wasn't, that girl going, I just looked for love with guys coming on my face. Okay. That can be good. What's wrong with that? And I don't think you were looking for love. You were probably looking for sex. Like, let's really be real about this. You weren't trying to have like some sort of romance. Your attempt and maybe looking for love got carried away and lust took over. But see him as a different thing. Like, so let's see the reality of this. Don't think you're like this scarred, horrible person. That's the worst thing you can do. And that also you have a choice. We could stop. So where does this translate into normal sex? Because that's really where it's applicable for people. But like, man, and again, this was the only time I saw it. I had plenty of like regular sex with people. People walk away, disappointed or whatever, or people walk away unsure of what happened. And not because the sex was bad, but because it was an overload of emotion. Like we got into crazy shit. You know, it's like we're talking all this stuff and she's like, oh my God, I want you to fuck me like this. Like my ex-boyfriend never fucked me like this. Like, God damn it. Like, you know, fuck me like a bitch or whatever. I remember, man, you know, like this stuff that happens. I was having sex with this girl and she's like, fucking call me a bitch, spit on me, hit me hard, call me. And she was of an ethnicity and she's like, call me this racial slur. And she's getting all into it and she wanted, and this wasn't really my style, but she was so into it and got so carried away because she had never released to that point. And again, the sexual mind, very different than the social mind, walks out of that situation and had not had an experience like that before. She's a little unsure of herself. And she's going like, man, okay, I did this with this guy. He's the only guy that knows. It's a secret. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go compartmentalize my sexuality, have normal sex with somebody else, and I'm never going to do that again. That to me is not good. I never want that to happen. So it's like, hey, look, we did some stuff. It was a beautiful thing. And we don't have to do it again or whatever. It's just, I think, like, you know, when we're sexual beings or when that act of sex, a lot of stuff comes up and it's never a bad thing. It's your expression. So, you know, I mean, like, choose to show what you like and who you are. You know, and we can see each other again or not. It's totally cool. And we take the mysticism out of it. We take the power of the secret out of it. We take the power of like all this control out of it. That's key. Right? And so when you notice that, that's all a woman needs. We fuck, man. We fuck good. She goes to different places where she orgasms in a different way. And it's amazing. And she never liked being, let's say it's a tame thing. She never liked even being slapped on the ass. She never liked, you know, me fucking her from behind and spitting on her asshole and sticking my thumb in and saying like, man, imagine two dicks fucking you at once. Or like, what if all your friends were watching or whatever, you know, shit I would say. Because we're in our sexual mind. And this is what people say. You know, these are things that happen. Those are kind of like 100% things that I could say. It's almost always going to go over that action. You know, God damn it, you love being fucking pounded. Like just bend over and take it. Take my fucking dick. What if there was like a line of guys here just ready to fuck you or whatever it was. And we're just one-on-one, right? But we're just talking, right? We're just talking shit. I love dirty talking. Good at it, man. I like it. It's a good thing. So I'm saying, oh my God, oh my God. And afterwards, she's never had that. You know, she went to church. She was religious. She's never experienced anything like that. Man, that's real easy for a girl to fall in love with you. That's real easy to fucking own that part of time. And I don't want that. I don't want to own anybody. I want people to have choices about me. So day goes by, 2 days go by. You say, hey, man, what we did, that was beautiful. Or let's say if she's a little traumatized by it. You know, let's say you get like rough and she goes into some violent area. You might need to do it that day. You're done having sex and it's like, hey, look, man, we went through some crazy shit. That was a beautiful thing. That made me get to know you more. Oh, that wasn't me. It's like, hey, whatever. A part of it was you. And you should be proud of that. That's awesome. And you have the choice to show it to whoever you want to. Like, don't think you're out of control with it. Never think that. No, man, that was amazing. I see you more is an amazing. Well, I can't have a boyfriend who's gonna like that, or that's why I can't be with you. Man, you're thinking way too much into this. Like, look, let me just tell you something. I don't know anything about being a boyfriend. I'm not there yet with you, and we just met or whatever it is. But like, I know if I'm with somebody, I want to be able to have them feel comfortable enough to show all their sides of me and not hide anything. And what you had was awesome. And hey, you have a choice. You know, if you don't like it, or if I freaked you out, we can stop. Like, you don't have to call me back, but this is all good. And one thing that I see men do a lot is they have this guilt thing and they like go and hang out with the girl and try and call them back to go, oh no, you're still good. No, it's not about that. I'm very clear. Like the other day last night I saw a girl that I had pissed off earlier. I said, hey, we were just joking around with some stuff. And she was like, oh yeah, whatever, asshole. And I was like, okay, I'm just telling you, like, you don't need to be pissed, but if you're pissed, whatever. Like it's not to where I need to feel responsibility for it. It's just I need to make it clear of what it is. Now, I know it's going on a long time. I apologize for it. I meant this to be really short and to the point. But this brings us to this next thing. Whereas there's a guy in TSL and he's like, man, I'm having sex with a lot of girls. and they don't leave me alone. I fuck them. I kick them out right afterwards. And so this is another thing. We got to talk. We got to talk as dudes about this. If you don't want a relationship with somebody, do not spend the night with them. It doesn't mean you need to be mean. Do not spend the night at their place or have them spend the night at your place. Do not do that. It's so easy to let it happen. You fuck you. It's good, man. You feel good. And you just fall asleep with them. You're holding each other. You sleep like a baby. That's what always happened to me because I always had trouble sleeping. Oh, I slept so good, especially with the new girl and the sex was good. Don't do that shit, man. It sends the wrong message. People don't listen to words. They listen to actions. So what you'd have to do, and seriously, it's not because people are lying. It's not because chicks are stupid. It's not because, women communicate in this horrible way and men communicate in this great way. Both of us communicate like shit. We're fucking idiots, man. We're both idiots because we haven't experienced this, and our sexual self, got developed after our verbal skills and our emotional skills were already there. So we're learning this sexual game when we're 12 through 20, trying to figure it out, and we're fucking it up all over the place, and nobody's guiding us in the right directions. In any case, man, it's okay to leave. It's okay to say, hey, I got to go, man. That was great. That was beautiful. I got to go. That was great. It was beautiful. You can't spend the night. It's just, I can't have that happen until I know you better. It's the same thing. Like I remember girls would tell me it's like it's the funniest thing when I moved to Texas, because in California, every girl just sucked your dick and then wouldn't fuck you, or there would be resistance towards it. Girls in Texas would fuck you and then not suck your dick till later. And I remember this girl telling me, she's like, oh man, I only do that for my boyfriend. I'll fucking say the same thing back to them. It's like, man, you can't spend the night. I only do that for people that I'm like seriously dating. And it's a very special thing to me. And make them leave. It's not that bad of a thing, man. And ultimately it helps them. You don't need to be a dick to do it. But where this does come into play is he actually started saying things. It's like, man, then I get these texts. I get like 10, 12 text messages blowing up my phone in the morning. God, I'm not going to wash my clothes. I'm not going to shower until noon or all day. I want people to walk around with your scent on me. I can still smell your cum. I want my pussy to smell like your cum. All this stuff. Like women get primal with it, which again, this is the kind of shit, if you go back to the golden dick video, that you say, well, fucking them. I want your pussy to fucking smell like my dick. I want you to walk around. I'm going to cum all over you and not fucking shower and go and hit on like 12 guys. I want you to go make out with a dude with fucking my cum in your mouth or whatever. You say all this sort of stuff. They'll get all into it. But, yeah. So anyway, the thing is that it's such a common thing. And so what he was saying, he's like, I got to lay down some boundaries. So you can lay down some boundaries, but people don't fucking listen to boundaries. Boundaries get broken. You have to hold on to the action. So to hold on to the action would be very key. If you're fucking that good and you're knocking something loose, like I said, it's an experience that's new. There's new things that are good and just ecstasy. And then there's new things that are kind of negative and they're confusing. Man, she wants more. She wants more to figure it out with you. Sure, you can lay down some boundaries. You can say like, hey, I don't do this. Or, hey, I only date one person at a time. Or we hear these motherfuckers talk about authenticity. I want to make another video about this tonight. Jesus Christ. Like integrity and what the image of man is and all this bullshit. But people care about actions. So what you have to do is you have to hold it down to actions. You have to, 1, see them once a week. You have to, number 2, do not text them or have phone calls with them or have any shit which is like a boyfriend. That means on the emotional thread, if you want to know what that is, you can download the TSL guide to getting sexual with text and look what an emotional thread is. You do not have that. If she's saying I'm having a bad day at work, you don't respond. You just fucked. You're not her boyfriend. If she's saying like, oh my God, like this is terrible, like keep me occupied while I'm sitting in traffic. No, you don't need to text back to that. And yes, of course, those things will hook a girl in and maintain her and keep her around. But that's a different pussy that she's bringing to the table than if you ignore it. And sure, she might walk away. If you're only giving her the dick once a week and you're not getting all emotional with her and holding her hand through all these experiences that she has in life, she might find another dude. But if you're a guy that's having that sort of sex life, that's the responsibility that you have to fucking hold. That's the burden you have to bear, right? If you want to keep a girl around for a long time, some emotion helps. I'll tell you what helps most, what will get you your ideal is it's not going to happen with every girl. It's only going to happen with some women. It's only going to happen with women that know what they want. Or they're just so goddamn insecure that they're going to stick around no matter how bad you treat them. probably don't want one of those girls. But if you do this enough where it's like, don't sleep with them after sex. All right. So kick them out of the bed. Say, do it nicely, or you leave. Do it nicely. Don't answer texts like that. All right. See them only when you can, like once a week. Sleep with them only once a week. And man, you can, and give them the fucking good dick once a week. If you're doing that, you can actually get away with that. And if you do that 2 or 3 times, she will fuck you until she has a boyfriend. She may even fuck you when she still has a boyfriend. That to me is the best way to set it up. But again, it doesn't work with every chick. If you want to work with every chick, then you got to put a little bit more emotion in the game and all that sort of stuff. And then you open up this rat's nest and people get pissed off and they fuck you up and all that sort of stuff. So I'll tell you this, man. You want to set some boundaries. Sure, you can bring them up all you want. But that shit doesn't matter. It's how you enforce them. And how you enforce them isn't with punishment, but it's from denial. It's from not being a part of. The way that all things work in life, this is the best way to look at it, man. I remember reading this in a, a Jack London book. It's great. Seawolf, the Seawolf. And it's like, it's this funny fucking moment, man. But this guy is stuck on this boat. It's one of the best descriptions of biology. And so the protagonist character is talking about all these ideals in society. And this captain who kind of has him trapped out on the boat, and he says, man, that's all bullshit. Look at how nature works. Look at how it works. Look at the ocean. You put food out there and it lives and it competes for that and it consumes it. As soon as that food is gone, the parties eating it fight, and then die. And it repeats. Society's not that complex. People aren't that complex. If you give it food, it will grow. And what's even more amazing is if it's in a relationship with somebody who's a little bit off and doesn't match you, and you give them that food, you might be meeting one thing with that food, and all their different emotions start competing over it. And then you start to re-guide that food in a different way. And guess what? Now you have a fight. Now you have scarcity. Now you have competition over that. And the only one that loses in that is you. Because you're trying to engineer something that was too far out of control. So man, take that shit away. Take it away. Don't give it to him. You don't want to be a boyfriend. Don't act like a boyfriend. You don't want to care for her emotions. You don't want to be there for her late at night holding her. Don't answer the text message that's asking to do that. Don't buy into the Netflix and chill by yourself eating bonbons, listening to Adele side of her. Listen to the side of her that fits within the template of life that you can offer her. Feed that. And man, you're going to have a lot of people who aren't interested. But you're only going to build up the culture of the people that you actually want.